What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio. Welcome to the DFS Picks and Prediction Show. Be sure to tune in every Wednesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, where me, Weezy, MMA Monk, and Gordo break down the upcoming card from a DFS perspective and give our predictions on the fights as well. Also, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to Pub Sports Radio so you don't miss out on all the other content throughout the week. As always, we're going to be going through our fights to target, fight to fade, fighter to fade, favorite dog, favorite GPP play, favorite cash play, favorite value play, favorite dart throw. We'll go over our lineups last week, see how we did. We'll give our lineups for this week. And looking forward to it. So we'll start with you, Monk. Monk, what is up? I see you are not where you usually are. So how you doing? Where you at?
Yeah, this is why I upgraded my green screen. What do you guys think? It's fucking crazy, man. No, I'm down in Texas for the week, visiting some family. I'll keep this intro short. I got a lawnmower that's finishing up behind me. Looking forward to the card, having a fantastic time down here, but still going to make time for Pub Sports Radio, and you guys on the show got a lot to discuss this week, so we'll get you taken care of.
Sounds good. Love it. Love the mower as well. We got Gordo hanging out. Gordo, you looking forward to the card?
I definitely am. I think it's going to be a great weekend. I got nothing special going on. I got no lawnmowers, no new scenery, but I'm ready for some fights. I mean, there's a lot of dogs barking. I think there's a lot of value and a lot of fun fights. I mean, the name value might not be there as much, but oh my God, there's going to be some fun ones. And I see Lou commenting a certain name that I'm sure you'll cover, but there's a couple fighters that I'm sure a lot of people don't know about. And I'd be happy to let them know who's fighting this weekend.
Oh yeah, that's going to be fun for sure. And then last but not least, we got Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what is up? You looking forward to the card?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Great card, couple title fights, a couple of rematches, some really good ones in here. I'm looking forward to this one. And, it's now on fight week, Brady. I know that this makes, your heart swoon a little bit, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't happen for me as well. So looking forward to breaking this one down.
100% cannot wait for it. As always, guys, if you guys can please leave a like, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio so you not miss out on all the other content throughout the week. Let us shout out the chat and then get started. We got F. Carrillo, the first one in the chat, saying, "Oi, yes." We got Brian hanging out, Andres. We got Danny, Grateful Dude, Zero, Lou Betcha, and Philip all hanging out with us. I say we get into it right away. And as always, guys, we're going to start with our fight to target. And I'll start with you, Monk. Monk, what is your favorite fight to target for this week?
I'm going to go ahead and go with the Brendan Allen Jacob Malkoun fight, $9,000, $7,200. This is a great fight to play from a salary voodoo perspective. Both salaries make the optimal lineup at a decent clip, especially when they win, in fact. And then you combine that with both fighters. Brendan Allen has made the optimal in 1 out of his previous 4 fights, and Malkoun has made the optimal in both of his previous 2 fights. So that's 3 out of 6 fights these guys making the optimal. We have some great scores here. Brendan Allen, 3.45 per minute. Jacob Malkoun, I believe, if I could get my scroll finger going here, 6 points a minute, over 6 a minute, 121 on average over his 2 wins. So that is absolutely incredible. Not only that, but I'm really looking forward to this fight. Jacob Malkoun lands a ton of takedowns and control time per minute on average. Brendan Allen, when he loses, that is 2 losses. He's giving up 117 on average. So there are a ton of points flying around this fight. This is definitely one I'm looking to target. And like I said, at that salary range, $9,000 and $7,200, those are very good salaries. The $7,200 is one of the best underdog salaries you can play, actually. I believe when it wins, it makes the optimal 3 out of 4 times. So combine that with Jacob Malkoun's big takedown upside, and you got yourself a good fight to target. Brendan Allen, Jacob Malkoun.
Yep, very good fight to target there. For me, I'm going to go with the people's main event, Silvana Gomez-Juarez going against Liang Na. I think somebody gets finished here. I think somebody gets finished within the first couple rounds. I do like that price tag on Liang Na at 7,600. I think she has a legit path to victory here in terms of taking down Juarez, who can't really stuff a takedown and has been submitted back-to-back fights. I think Liang Na is very live for that first-round finish. If she does not get that first-round finish, she is going to more than likely lose, and more than likely lose by finish. So I do want to play both sides here. I think both sides are very live for a finish within the first couple rounds. And at these price tags, I really, really like it. But I'm more so on the Liang side myself. But I think Juarez is a solid play as well, 8,600 for that knockout upside in that late first or second round. Weezy, what is your favorite fight to target for this week?
I wrote Na Liang versus Silvana Gomez-Juarez because I figured somebody would say Procházka versus Teixeira. That hasn't happened yet. But I'm going to stick with my guns here. This fight is ridiculously high scoring. Both fighters, their defense is offensive. You got them giving up a ton of Draftkings points per minute. Liang in her debut gave up 6.6 DraftKings points per minute. And Juarez, though in her 2 fights, has been giving up 5.81 DraftKings points per minute. Add to that fact, this is a striker versus grappler matchup where we can expect Liang to spam takedowns and sub attempts until she gasses out. And Juarez has been subbed in both of her UFC losses so far. So it's the second most likely to fight to finish inside the distance on the slate. And that's ridiculous for a women's strawweight fight, because women's strawweight fights finish about 30% of the time. And they got the implied probability of this fight finishing inside the distance on the line is sitting at about 70%. That's how crazy Na Liang is. That's the pace that she brings. She will fight until she's completely exhausted and doesn't even have the ability to pick herself up off the canvas after 5 minutes. So somebody's getting finished. Somebody's getting finished early, and they're going to give up a ton of points, whichever one does lose. So gotta love both sides of this fight.
Yep, I'm right there with you. Gordo, what is your favorite fight to target this week?
Well, first of all, great points. I never thought I'd be so excited for such a low-level fight. No offense to you, Brady, and your girl, but no, I saw someone commenting to make sure I'm not just copying other people, and I wrote down 4 fights just to make sure I wasn't, but nice. You guys leave me the easy one. I mean, I'm taking the main event here, and it's hard to tell otherwise. I appreciate you guys letting that come to me because it's a pretty simple one. There's 2 fighters when they're fighting. I always like to target their fights, and that's Charles Oliveira fights and Glover Teixeira fights. And this is one where you have a guy who's the champion, and he's great at what he does, but he's old. He's got durability issues. He's been cracked in a lot of his fights. And that is not a good look when you're going up against a literal samurai ninja warrior, whatever he is, in Jiří Procházka. That guy is an absolute savage. He's out there punching trees. I don't know what he's doing. But if there's one thing we can rely on, that's he's going to bring the pace. He's going to be fun. He's going to go out there, and he's not going to let Glover really try to get off his game plan. With that being said, the underdog, like Glover has been in each one of his recent fights, he always finds a way to turn things around, and that's why you can't count him out. I mean, both these guys, 8.9K, 7.3K. I see one of them scoring at least 100 points either way. This one should be done in the first couple rounds as well, whether it be just Jiří hitting Glover like he's a tree and cracking that chin, or Glover exploiting that ground and that defensive liability there.
Absolutely. It would be criminal not to mention the main event. So I'm glad you did there, Gordo. Let us move on to the fight to fade, and we will start with you, Weezy. Weezy, what is your fight to fade for this week?
You know, I went with Seung Choi versus Josh Kulabau this week. Even though this fight is like middle of the road to finish in terms of the fight doesn't go to decision line based against the other ones on the card, it's the 7th most likely to finish inside the distance. So right in the middle of the pack. Neither one of these guys has much grappling upside. I know Kulabau is 0 for 11 on his takedown attempts. I think Seung Choi has only attempted 7 takedowns, I think in 6 UFC fights thus far. So, you know, I just don't see a lot of grappling upside here. And because the finish line is right in the middle of the pack, you know, it just doesn't feel like this is going to be a high-scoring fight when neither guys grapple, when there's not a high likelihood of a finish. And both guys are below average scorers. Choi scoring about 2.94 DraftKings points a minute. And for Kulabau, it's only 1.76. I don't think Choi pays off his salary, and I don't like Kulabau to win here. So I feel safe avoiding this fight, particularly in cash games. And, you know, don't forget, Seung Choi is 9,100 this week. So, you know, if you want over 90 points from him, you got to feel like he's going to have to either grapple or get a finish. And, you know, I don't know if either one of them are that likely.
Yep. I mean, I'm trying to find a different one to give, but I went with the same thing. Seung Choi, Josh Kulabau. You know, I think if anything, I would play some Kulabau, but I'm right there with you. I think Seung Choi does win this fight. I don't think he goes out there and wrestles. I don't think he gets control time. I'm not really sold that he knocks out Josh Kulabau. And then they're just, you know, I'd rather play Valentina, you know, Brendan Allen, even Manel Kape over Seung Choi at this price tag. So yeah, there's not a ton of fights I fade on this card, but yeah, the obvious one that stuck out for me was that Choi fight. Monk, what fight are you fading for this week?
I am going to go and take the co-main event of the evening. If any of you know me, you had to know I was going to pick this fight in particular. Valentina Shevchenko, while she does score well, 9,600, way too much to pay. That salary's only made the optimal lineup one time in a year and a half in 12 uses. So, I mean, to me, it's just way too expensive to make the optimal. So that's a huge reason to fade that one. And the other reason is Taila Santos. I mean, what percentage are we giving her to win here? I mean, realistically, like, are we even up to 20? I mean, pipe in if you think so, but that's probably about where I'm sitting. So, I mean, 6,600, I'll definitely be playing her in some GPPs, but I just am going to be fading this one overall in bigger tournaments. Taila Santos, I mean, 4.04 points a minute, only giving up 70 some when she loses. There's a gigantic wasp right next to me, so if I freak out and scream like a girl, that's why. Shevchenko only allowing 1.64 points a minute, and 74 when she loses. So neither one of these women giving up a ton of points when they lose. They both score a lot when they win, but I'm picking Shevchenko to win this fight more often than not, and I just think she's too expensive to put in your GPP lineups. I'll save this for later. I do like her for cash, but as far as GPPs go, I'm going to be fading this fight.
Sound good. And then Gordo, what do you like for your fight to fade?
I'm with you on the Troy and Kulabau one. I'm not going to go on and say too much about it, but I just got to say, if you're going to take Troy in your GPP above Allen, Procházka, and all those guys, I don't know what's going on there. I don't think he has that same ceiling. I don't think he has the same upside. The grappling upside is not there. Sure, you might be able to get a mid-round finish, but I think Kulabau might have a decent opportunity to withstand some of that damage. And then on the other side, he doesn't land many takedowns in his own rights. Fade that fight for me.
Yep, totally agree. Let's move on to the fighter to fade. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. It's Seung Choi. I'm really struggling to find really anybody else. I think a lot of these fighters are in play this week, especially on a 12-fight slate. Seung Choi, once again, he's not going to wrestle. He's not going to get control time, and I'm just not sold he knocks out Kulabau. 9,100, just the easiest fade on the slate for me. Gordo, what is your favorite fighter to fade on the slate?
Yeah, I'm fading Jocelyn Edwards, 8.7K. I don't think her path to victory scores as high as the other fighters in the region, especially when you're looking at the people around her. And it's a fight where there's a weekend where you see a lot of dogs that are barking too. So there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of different ways I can go. And she's just the one that I'm rostering the least amount of my lineups because her win condition to me, I can't see her knocking out Pascual on the feet because we've seen how tough Pascual is. And at that rate too she's been controlled. She's comfortable off her back. I don't see her ceiling being that high. And for that reason, I'm not rostering over the likes of the people around her. And she's my fighter to fade this weekend.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Weezy, what is your fighter to fade this week?
Yeah, I'm with Gordo here. I kind of went up and down. I didn't want to say Choi because I had just said that in the fight to fade. So I'm like, I got to find someone else. And it's Edwards. You know, I actually think Jocelyn wins this fight, but Ramona's path to victory here is to wrestle and try to put Edwards on her back. And at $8,700 for Edwards with little grappling upside, and she's only scoring 2.26 Draftkings points a minute. So we know that that's about 63, 64 points in a decision win at that rate. So that's not good. I think the only way Jocelyn pays off her salary is to finish Pascual. And the odds say her implied probability to achieve that is around 25%. You know, and I mean, look, Joe Benavidez couldn't finish Ramona Pascual in her last fight. And like that, and Joe was cracking her, just cracking her. And that dude has got some serious power for the women's featherweight division. So, and especially if Jocelyn does get grappled here, she's been giving up almost 60% of her UFC cage time in control time positions on the cage and with her back on the mat. So you don't score points like that in DraftKings. So if she gets grappled for a large portion of this fight, I definitely don't see her paying off her salary. Seems like an easy fade to me.
Yep, I agree. Monk, how about you? What is your favorite fighter to fade?
I definitely had Jocelyn Edwards up there, but you guys covered it perfectly, so I will jump to Kulabau. Again, I'm just going to back this one up this is obvious. A few of us have said this fight to fade in general. I'll give you just some stats on Kulabau. 1.76 points a minute is what he scores. 58 is what he put up in a win. He only gives up 2.46 per minute. An average value of just over 4. I mean, somebody mentioned his ceiling was very low. That is obviously true. The 23rd highest or lowest, 23rd lowest ceiling. So, 5th or 6th, worst ceiling on the card. Takedown defense is okay, but that's really, he hasn't really fought anybody that's going to be taking him down. He's, he lost or got a draw against Jourdain, lost to Turner, who's not, he's going to knock you out basically. And then Shailan, who didn't go for, or actually he did land. He's the one that landed the 2 takedowns against him. So we'll have to see if that holds up. But I really, like you guys said, I don't think he wins this fight. And I think his path to victory is like a 60-point decision. So those very low scoring numbers are going to have me fading Josh here 100%.
Yep, totally agree. Let's move on to the favorite dog, and I will start with you, Weezy. What is your favorite dog for this week?
This week, I'm going with Glover Teixeira. Glover's got a clear path to victory here, but it's a very, very risky pick. All it takes is one big shot from Jiří to end your night. But if Glover gets his wrestling and top game going, he probably finishes this fight in the first 3 rounds and almost certainly winds up optimal. Jiří's takedown defense and get-up game are going to be tested by one of the best here. Glover knows his path. He'll look to wrestle. He'll look to get a submission here. And the one thing that you can't find in the forests of the Czech Republic is a way for a tree to lay on top of you and work on your half guard sweeps and, your get up game from deep half guard. So, Jiří really needs to work on that takedown defense and get up game. It's been exploited in the past. And look, if you wind up with Glover Teixeira on top of you, you look at how many people he's finished and how many good grapplers he's finished when he's gotten on top of them. And sometimes Glover is even more dangerous when you hurt him first. And we've seen that over and over again. So the old man has got a path to victory here. But if he loses this fight, he probably scores less than 10 points because of Jiří's power. So this is a hit or miss. It's a high ceiling, low floor pick. But Glover Teixeira definitely has a path to victory, like a lot of these underdogs do this week. And I've just got a feeling Glover's going to get the job done here.
Yeah, and I saw an interview with Henry Cejudo a couple of hours ago, and he was talking about saying he wished Jiří worked on his wrestling more, which was weird to hear, but apparently he didn't work on his wrestling enough, which is not a good sign. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Glover's a phenomenal dog at that price tag. For me, I think there's a lot of dogs I really like. I guess my favorite one would be Liang Na. 100% finish rate. Juarez has been finished, I think, 2 or 3 times at this point, 2 by sub. Liang Na is going to get takedowns early on. She has that early finish upside. She's 7,600. I think the price tag's off, and there's actually money coming in on Liang Na. And I think it continued to come in here. I think she has a really, really clear path to victory. Exploit that 16% takedown defense of Juarez and get her out of there in that very first round. So although there's a lot of dogs I like, I will say she is probably my favorite one this week. Monk, who is your favorite dog this week?
There are a few options with some huge value. I totally agree. I'll just pick one out of my hat here. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, man, just under 3 points a minute, 97.65 when she wins. Even when she loses, she scores decent for cash, 45.53 on average. This is over 4 UFC losses. She is $7,400, which is $1,100 under her average salary, average value of just under 10. And she only allows 2.28 points per minute. Now, the caveat to this is a lot of her fights are 5 rounds. This one is, I believe, a 3-round fight. So we have 10 minutes less to work with. So that's kind of the one red flag here. But I think, before I realized that this was a 5-round fight, I was like, oh, we're stacking this, no problem. This is going to be easy points in cash. But like I said, I realized it just before the bell when I was recording my game theory video. So I do kind of still like Joanna here. I like the scoring upside. This is going to be a war, I think. I'm really hoping it goes 3 rounds because, I mean, who doesn't want to see a repeat of that fight? I mean, if Daniel Cormier even mentions that thing on her head, right on that button, I might piss myself again. So give me Joanna Jędrzejczyk in a really tough fight. Last stat, she scores over 90 points in 7 out of 10 of her wins, over 100 in 6 of them, and over 110 in 5 of those wins. So huge scoring upside here for Joanna Champion for me. Champion. There we go.
I like it, Champion. I love it. Gordo, how about you? Who's your favorite dog for this week?
Yeah, well, luckily I wrote down 4 because I agree with all 3 of yours. What I'm going to go with right now is I'll take the last one on the board for me, and I'll take Kang here, Mr. Perfect, 7.9K. I do think he has a legitimate grappling upside here, and on a fight card where you have 3 really big fights, I do think that a lot of these mid-range dogs are going to go a bit overlooked just because this is a card that will attract more casual viewers, and in that case, more guys who are going to revolve around that main card. And I do think that he's going a bit overlooked. He's facing guys in Bakary who just got knocked down not too long ago. I don't think that matters too much. The big red flag is his takedown defense. Not many people have tried it against him, but Alton Haley was able to get them at will pretty much at the end of that 3rd round. So I do think Kang does have that grappling upside. He wasn't able to implement it last time against someone in Ra Yaha as well because of that grappling offense on the other side. So I do think that this is a lot better stylistic matchup for him here. I think at 7.9K, he can get 10 times value pretty easily. And I do think he goes overlooked with a bit less ownership than the people around him. So give me Kang this week.
Yep, and yeah, as you guys can tell, like there's a lot of live dogs this week, and we just gave 4 really good ones there. Andres with the dono saying a piece of last week's earnings. Thanks for the dedication and time, guys. Which is more likely if both fighters are gassed? Jiří KO or Glover sub? We'll start with you, Monk. Which is more likely, do you think, if they both were to be gassed?
I mean, we've got evidence of the latter, so I got to pick Glover sub just based on the evidence there. You know, if both guys are gassed, shit, I'll take Glover.
Yeah, I'd take Glover as well. Gordo, how about you?
Yeah, same thing. It seems to be like when he gets rocked, it wakes him up and he just goes like killer instinct mode. So maybe we'll see that again. Hopefully we don't see anyone get too tired. Hopefully it's a fun early finish, but I'd have to go Glover as well.
Yeah, and then Weezy, how about you?
Yeah, it's the same thing for me. Somebody had mentioned, I was really mad at Jimmy Crute after losing money on him twice in my last 2 bets on him. And somebody had mentioned on Twitter to me that the plan going forward for Crute was for his cornermen to knock him out before the fight starts so that when he goes into the cage, he starts panic wrestling immediately. Well, evidently, that's Glover's plan. He's like, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to get punched in the face, and then that's when my wrestling game really comes together. So, yeah, I think it would be Glover to be the more likely one to get the finish once they're tired.
Sounds good. Hopefully that answers your question, Andres. Thank you for the dono. Thank you for hanging out. We got F. Carilla with the dono as well, saying seed to the 4 horsemen. Oi, it's Monktastic. El Gordo with Dukes of Hazards. Yeehaw. I like F. Carilla. Thank you for hanging out and supporting as always. We got B in the chat as well. What is up, B? How you doing? Let's make some money. I agree. So let us move on to the next thing. We have our favorite GPP play, and we will start with you, Gordo. Who you liking for tournaments here?
I'm going basic once again. I'm taking Jiří Procházka. I know we talked a lot about Glover and him being able to panic wrestle his way to a comeback victory, but in the thick of things, man, he's gonna have probably less ownership of the two, and he probably has the better chance to win this a lot of the time. And that could easily be a first 10-second knockout like Corey Anderson did, or it could be wearing him down. I do think that this guy is just an athletic freak of nature, like a samurai all the time, right? So despite that big red flag of that takedown and grappling defense, he's got the clear advantage on the feet. He will press forward. He will put a lot of shots to Glover's chin, and he does have a really, really high ceiling here. As much as I hate to say it, because I do love Glover, I think that Jiří is a great GPP play this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's very live for that knockout. I'm actually going to go with kind of a weird one here. I'm going to go with Steve Garcia, 8,400. I like the price tags for both guys, actually, and I think this fight could go a little bit under-owned here. The fight doesn't go to decision. It is minus 200. Looks like minus 225 on some books, so I think it's like the 3rd or 4th highest here. And yeah, I think Steve Garcia should just run through this guy. I like him pretty much everywhere the fight goes. On the feet, he's very dangerous. He comes forward. He looks for that finish, and I think a legitimate path to victory, just taking down Maheshwari, getting on top and just pounding this guy out. I'm not sold on Maheshwari being UFC caliber, and I really like Steve Garcia this week. So yeah, Garcia, 8,400. I don't think he's going to be overly high owned, and I think he has some good finish upside there. Weezy, who's your favorite GPP play this week?
I usually like to go with my most confident pick of the week here, and that's Brendan Allen. I have Brendan Allen down as Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. I feel like he's better everywhere. But in the wrestling and the conditioning, I really do believe that Malkoun is better there. The problem is that when you're better in the wrestling, you would prefer to have your opponent not be better than you in the submission grappling. And that's going to be the case here. You don't want to be on the ground with Brendan Allen. And Malkoun really has no choice because he's subpar everywhere else. If this is on the fence, Brendan Allen's going to fuck him up with knees. If this is in the center of the cage, Brendan Allen's going to outstrike him. So I really don't think Jacob has any choice but to wrestle here. And it's kind of, he's going to the ground with a black belt with a ton of submissions on his record who would prefer to be on the ground anyway. I think one of the biggest red flags about Brendan Allen has been his inability to get the fight to the ground when he fights strikers. But he doesn't have to worry about that here. This guy is not a striker. He's barely 5'10". He's undersized for the division. He has no striking. So his only path is to take down Brendan Allen. Once he does that, he's going to be in Brendan Allen's world. I just don't see anywhere where Malkoun is better than this guy other than the conditioning and the ability to wrestle offensively. So I'm going to be going with Brendan Allen here to win this one, win it cleanly and probably inside the distance.
Yep, I totally agree with you. Monk, how about you? Who's your favorite GPP play?
Man, I'm currently watching two lizards fight, right? I mean, this is incredible, guys. I'm not used to seeing shit like this where I'm from, so I apologize. But I thought I was being sneaky with Steve Garcia, but Brady sniffed it out ahead of me, so I will back him up with some stats here. Love the Jiří play also. I had those two written down. Steve Garcia, 3.46 points a minute. I know he's only had 2 UFC fights, but that is a great start. 116 is what he scored in his win. Let's see, against Charlie Ontiveros. So, I mean, hey, that's something to brag about, but take it easy. It was Charlie Ontiveros there. He only gave up 72 in his loss. He has some big takedown upside he's shown so far in the UFC. Almost 1 point per minute in just takedowns, half a point per minute in control time. So, yeah, I agree with Brady 100%. I think this one is going to be a sneaky play that you could go a bit over the field on and still be pretty safe. I'll be looking to go at least 10 to 15% over the field, most likely, unless it's something crazy like, 30-ish%. But I agree. I think Garcia could run through Mahachete, and he's going to have to prove it before I put any kind of salary backup on him. So Steve Garcia, GPP play this week.
Yeah, for sure. I like it. I like it. PSSA 31 with the dono. Thank you for hanging out, and thank you for the dono saying Glover is going to cut Jiří's ponytail while on top and then submit him. Now, that would be an absolute sight to see there. And I think it could very well happen. I'm not sure about the cutting the ponytail, but the submission part is definitely on the table there. Let's go to our favorite cash game play. And I will kick us off here. I'm going with the easy option here. Valentina Shevchenko, 9,600. This is a really weird card where you can make a case for a lot of these underdogs. And in cash, I want that safety. I want that win. And Valentina is somebody that I feel like has a very good chance to win. Obviously, she's minus 600 on the money line. I feel like she has a really good floor. I think at the very least, this should go and get extended. I think Valentina is the safest play, especially in cash here. 9,600 there. But Weezy, who's your favorite cash play this week?
It's the same thing with me. And you said it perfectly on a card where so many dogs are live. And I mean, you can find even some spots where, the heaviest favorites, you can find a path to victory for Jacob Malkoun. He could wrestle Brendan Allen and stay safe on top for 15 straight minutes and win like that. And you can make a case for almost everybody. And then you get up to Valentina Shevchenko and you're like, man, she's going to clean her clock. So it makes it easy to say, all right, there's my free square. And then now I can mix in on a week where there are a lot of live dogs. I don't have to worry about paying up for Shevchenko because there's already 2 or 3 dogs down there in the lower salaries where I feel like they've got a legitimate chance or at least a path to victory. So in Valentina in a 5-round fight's a must own. She's averaging almost 110 points in her last 7 5-round fights. Even at 9,600, she's a very safe a very safe play to pay off her salary. And with her grappling upside, it really makes it, a high ceiling player here. And we have to remember, Brady's been telling people over and over again, forget about the Mara Romero Barella fight when you tape Taila Santos. Because if you go and you watch that fight, you're going to think she sucks. She doesn't suck. But the one grappler that she faced with the ability to take her down was Barella. And we saw that was the fight that she lost. And Shevchenko's a master of just exploiting the weakness of her opponent. And if Taila has not shored up that part of her game, she's going to wind up with her back on the mat and she's going to be, receiving a bunch of horrific ground and pound. And Priscilla Cachoeira could tell her all about what that's like. It's no fun at all to be underneath this woman.
Yeah, that's where Priscilla got her nickname. Priscilla catch a beating from that Valentina Shevchenko fight. One of the worst beatings I've ever seen for sure. So yeah, I do agree. Monk, who is your favorite fighter for cash this week?
I mean, there's only one option, guys. It's Valentina Shevchenko, 9,600. You got to play her in cash. 3 point. I mean, you could go Seung Choi, maybe for an easy like 60, 70. That would be like my second play. But I mean, if you're playing cash, play Shevchenko. Like Weezy said, almost 110. She only allows 1.64, so her defensive pace is third highest on the card. 74 when she loses on average, and this is only over 2 losses, obviously, in the UFC. Almost, exactly 1.5 points in grappling time per minute, takedowns and control time. only gives up 0.4 points a minute in that category, scores almost 2 striking points a minute. Average bonus points per fight, 46.82. I'm sorry, that's per win, 46.82. She's got a 78% takedown defense. I mean, her strength of schedule is one of the best on the card. She hasn't lost since the Dust Bowl. I don't know what else to tell you. Cash games. Give me Valentina Shevchenko. And I believe it was Brady. He said that you could easily get to some cheaply priced underdogs this week. So she is not going to be very difficult to get to. There's a bunch of people down on that bottom end. So give me Shevchenko in almost 100% of my cash lineups.
3 in a row there. Gordo, who do you got for cash?
I'll make it 4, and I'm not going to go on too much about it, but I'll give another name out there just because I did write down another, and that for me is going to be Brendan Allen. And I know a lot of you guys are playing in GPP, but I think he's also a decent cash play because his losing criteria is something that still scores very well. I do think he's a door here. I can't see Malkoun really finishing him, so that gives him a decent floor because, every round's going to start in the feet. If you do think Malkoun's going to win, you're going to have to rely on him going for takedowns, laying and praying 15 minutes. So I do think Brendan Allen's a decent floor, decent cash play, but of course, no questions asked, it's going to be Valentina Shevchenko. And I think you guys covered all the bases there. So those 2 cash plays for me.
Yep, sounds good. So it looks like we're all on the same page there. Let us go to our favorite value play now. We'll start with you, Monk. Monk, who are you liking for some value?
Let's see. I'm keep going back and forth. I'll just give you a different name that's on that low end so you can get to your Shevchenkos in cash, maybe your Kapes, your Brendan Allens and GPPs. And that's Rogério Bontorin at 7K. He looked decent against Brandon Royval. Some would say maybe Brandon was a little sloppy. I personally think he has looked to clean up his game, to not clean up, but I don't know, just become a bit more well-rounded, a bit less unpredictable, which isn't necessarily a bad thing when you're that unpredictable to start with. But at $7,000, I think he's a decent get for a possible value this week. 2.73 points a minute, 80 when he wins. This is over 3 wins, so a decent play, maybe for cash as well, a cheap option. He does score very well on the ground, 0.96 points a minute in takedowns, control time over half a point per minute, and he does get a few reversal points in there. I mean, you get one of those in against a guy that's got you on the ground that, maybe a bit stronger than you. You can get one of those. That's 5 points right there. So 1 or 2 add up pretty well. Scores 50 on average when he wins in bonus points. Has a fantastic strength of schedule. Is going up against Manel Kape. So I think the longer this goes, obviously the better chance Bontorin will not only have to win the fight, but put up a decent score. I believe, if you bear with me, he scored 67 points in his fight against Brandon Royval, and actually outscored Brandon Royval in that last fight, even after Royval was awarded his bonus. So pretty interesting little stat there. So give me Bontorin for some value here.
Yep, I like it. We didn't really talk about that fight much, but I think that is a very good value play there, that price tag. For me, I'm going to go with Joanna here at 7,400. First of all, I think this is going to be a very, very close fight. If you go back and watch the first fight, it was a very, very close fight that really could have went either way. I don't really understand this price tag, and especially for cash. I am all over Joanna in cash here at this price tag. I think this does go 3 rounds. She throws a ton of volume, 6.3 significant strikes landed per minute. I think they're just going to stand and bang for 15 minutes there. So, yeah, I love me some Joanna. More so from a cash game perspective, but even for tournaments, I think if she does win, she's going to score very, very well. I'm personally picking, Zhang Weili to win, but Joanna for 7,400, I like it a lot, especially in cash. Weezy, how about you? Who are you liking for a value play here?
I think Na Liang is a great value play. And I mean, there's a lot of good underdogs here, but if Na wins this fight, she's probably going to be optimal. She scored 6.35 DraftKings points per minute in her debut. So let's say she goes out there like a tornado in the first round and then gets finished at the beginning of the second, like she did against Carnelossi. At that rate, that's still almost 40 points that she scores in 6 minutes. And that's the way that she fights. And we know for a fact when we watch Na Liang's tape that she's not going to fuck around in the striking exchanges any longer than she has to. My prediction is she's shooting a takedown within 5 seconds of this fight starting. And it's not a bold prediction. Go watch any Na Liang fight. She's in on a double leg less than 3 seconds after that bell starts. And if Keith Peterson is the ref, he's going to have to hold her back all the way in the corner until he says, "Ma'am, are you ready?" And then says fight. So I think Na has just got a really good upside here if she gets this finish. And I think she's super live for the finish. It's very clear that the hole in Gomez's game is her ground game. That's where Na is going to try to take this. She's going to be relentless until the gas tank is completely empty, trying to finish this fight. High ceiling, low price option here with having the path to victory on top of that and the style to push that pace. Let's go Na Liang.
Yeah, and the hairstyle as well, not just the style, but the hairstyle.
That's just the icing on the cake there, Brady. You're getting a handsome woman with a haircut you could set your watch to, and that you just add to the points that she could possibly bring you and the money that goes along with those points. I mean, everything is just screaming Na Liang from the mountaintops.
100%.
Na Liang.
Yes. Thank you for that. Monk, how about you? What you like for some value?
For some value here, let's see. I like Jacob Malkoun at 7,200. I mean, I already talked about him briefly, but the guy has put up a tremendous pace, 6.07 a minute, 121 when he wins. If he can get Brendan Allen down, which is what we are looking for, and maybe maintain some control time. Brendan Allen has average get-up time of 184 seconds, 57th best out of 83 tracked middleweights that I have going so far. So, below average, he's got about a 1-to-1 control time, maybe just a bit more, but he does get controlled a ton, 22.32% of his fight time. He's been controlled, does barely control over half of the grappling time, but Malkoun on the other side controlling 97%, 97.67. So if you round up 98% of the grappling time in his fights, 69% to 1%. So, I mean, I'm looking at Jacob Malkoun to, if he wins this fight, I mean, I'm looking at like, what are we thinking? Like 4 or 5 takedowns, maybe some control time, even a couple less takedowns than that. If he can bank some control time, land a few strikes when he's up top, this one could really score well in 15 minutes. So give me Jacob Malkoun for some value here.
Yeah, absolutely. If Jacob Malkoun wins, it's going to be a very big score. So another dog I like there as well. Let us move on, though, to our dart throw. I will kick this one off. I'm going to go with Ramazan Emeev at 8,000. Lots of hype on Jack Della Maddalena. Money's been pouring in on him all week. But, I went and watched all the tape I could on Jack Della Maddalena, and I didn't find as much as I'd like to see in terms of the takedown defense. I saw him get taken down, here and there. He's able to stand back up, but this is going to be the best wrestler he's faced by a mile. And Ramazan Emeev, he doesn't typically score well, but for a fact he's going to go out there. He's going to get takedowns. He's attempted over 50 takedowns thus far in the UFC. What happens if Jack Della Maddalena, can't get up and he's stuck on his back? If Emeev wins this fight, I mean, I think he can score pretty well, and I think nobody's going to have him this week. So I don't mind some Ramazan Emeev as a dart throw at 8,000. I think he's going to be super, super low owned, and I think Jack Della Maddalena is actually going to have some decent ownership as well. Gordo, who are you liking as a dart throw this week?
Well, first of all, I didn't get a chance to do my value play, but that's okay because I had Joanna just like you. I had Joanna as well. I think that at 7.4K, it's like we're not going to have any problems. They're putting out volume. Her durability, even with the Megamind head, looked okay. So I do think Joanna's okay for value. But dart throw wise, I'm going Mahashete. I know you guys are on Garcia, and I don't mind the play here. I just think that purely due to ownership and upside, Mahashete is going to have some decent chances to score well because he's not going to accrue much ownership at all. A lot of people are going to revert to the Garcia side or probably stay away from this fight completely. And it's not like Garcia wasn't dropped 3 times his last fight. Mahashete, where he does have very weak takedown defense, he has decent hands. He has the ability to go out there and you know what? Like from what we've seen, he's got decent boxing chops, right? So if Jamie Simmons is going to put Garcia down 3 times, Mahashete may only need 1. He proved people wrong in the Dana White Contender Series. Maybe he'll prove people wrong here, but the big thing here is that ownership and that upside.
No, I like it. That was actually my second option there, Mahashete. So I like that one. Monk, how about you? Who are you liking as a dart throw?
I agree. I had both of those guys on my list, but the third person on my list was Ramona Pascual at $7,500. I think, let's see, 3.08 points per minute. Her first UFC fight against Josiane Nunez was a tough go. She did land 3 takedowns despite being knocked down twice. So that's the angle I'm looking at here. She scored 1 point a minute in takedowns in that fight, 0.44 points per minute in control time, and still 1.64 points a minute in striking. So she did land some strikes there. If she can land a couple of those takedowns and stay in this fight against Jocelyn Edwards, I think she is more than capable of being a dart throw in this one. She's only $7,500. Might be a sneaky play as well. Should be low ownership across the board on this fight. But I will definitely be higher on Ramona Pascal than on her opponent, Jocelyn Edwards, this week. And I love it for a dart throw play.
Yep, sounds good. Totally agree. Weezy, how about you? Who are you liking as a dart throw?
We got 4 different ones this time, you guys. I'm going with Dana Batgarel. All 3 of his UFC wins are in the first round by KO, and he's averaging 114.65 points in those wins. Kang's been cracked before, and he has a bad habit of exchanging in the pocket too much at times. Go watch the Kennedy fight. Go watch the Yashibo fight against Teruto Ishihara. If he does that against Dana, he's making a big mistake, and Dana can make him pay. Kang has the grappling upside here, and he's the dog, so I see Dana's ownership being low because DraftKings players have short-term memories, and we all do. You know, he's coming off this loss to Gutierrez, but prior to that, he's sleeping dudes in the first round, 3 in a row, one of them being Brandon Davis, who you have to bring a shovel in there to knock that dude out. He disposed of Brandon Davis so quickly. So I've seen Kang get reckless. I've seen him exchange when he shouldn't. And if you even look at the control time numbers for Kang, he's a good wrestler. He's a willing wrestler, but he's not winning enough minutes on the ground in order for me to feel safe that when this thing is on the feet, Dana's not going to be live to land that big shot. So I think Dana's a low-cost, high-upside option who's going to be very low-owned here.
Yeah, absolutely agree. If he does win, it is probably in the first round and probably by knockout. That's a very good one there. So next, what we'll do, first off, if you guys have any questions in the chat, put them in now, and then we'll get to them in a second. But we're going to go over our lineups. Last week, we'll talk about our lineups for this week, and then we'll give our quick picks and then head out of here. And again, if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat now. If there's a fight we didn't touch on, you want us to touch on it, we will do that also. So last week, in 4th place, we have Gordo with Movsar Evloev, 129.61, Ode Osborne, 102.89, Alonzo Menafield, 122.57, Poliana Botelho, 7.6, Johnny Munoz Jr. with 0.8, and then Zolga Sumagulov with 40.96 with a grand total of 404.43. In 3rd place was Weezy with Movsar Evloev, 129, Fakhretdinov, 108, Menafield, 122, Munoz, 0.8, Rosenstruck, 2.4, and then Lucas Almeida, 102.79. In 2nd place was Monk with Damon Jackson, 79, Evloev, 129, Menafield, 122, Gravely, 102, Zumagulov, 40, and then Aldrich, 25. And then 1st place was me with Evloev, 129.61, Fakhretdinov, 108, Menafield, 122, Karina Silva, 104, Alex De Silva, 38, and then Lucas Almeida, 102 with 606.43. So got the win there. Let's take a look at the current standings. And we have in 4th place Monk with 7,551, currently 945 points behind the leader. In 3rd place is Weezy, 7,604.64, currently 891 behind the leader. And then 2nd place is me with 7,945.47, 550 behind the leader. And then in 1st place is Gordo with 8,496.18. And yeah, Gordo, you're the leader. Well done.
Coming off a tough week, but it's okay. I ever since coming on here, I've been struggling a bit with the Ironmans. Maybe you guys are bad luck, but no. Great job to you guys last week. You guys killed it.
Thank you, Gordo. Yeah, we need to catch up. I mean, you still have a really big lead, but yeah, we're 18 cards in, so we'll see what happens there. Now we will do our lineups for this week, and we will start with you, Monk. Do you have your lineup ready?
Absolutely. Make sure I'm unmuted. Real quick, one fight nobody touched on, including myself, Jake Matthews, Andre Fiallo. I think this has big GPP implications, possible big cash implications as well. I personally like the underdog. That's a great fight for salary voodoo at 8,500, 7,700. So make sure to do some research on that fight in particular. I think that one could be a little sneaky. A lot of people playing kind of both sides of that. So I really like that one. But real quick for my lineup, I'm going to go with Shevchenko. Got to practice what I preach. Got to throw her in my cash lineup. Jiří Procházka, Steve Garcia, Ramazan Emeev, Ramona Pascal, and Jacob Malkoun to round it out. $49,600 salary.
Sounds good. Weezy, how about you? What is your lineup for this week?
So I'm going up top, Valentina Shevchenko, Brendan Allen, Dana Batgarel, Jack Della Maddalena, Na Liang, and Glover Teixeira.
Sounds good. Gordo, how about you?
You know what? I'm going to right the ship by taking 4 female fights because that's how it's done, right?
Nice.
We're going to take Brendan Allen. We're going to take Joanna, Liang Na, Pascual, Jiří, and Valentina Shevchenko.
Shit, that was my lineup.
Was it?
No
yeah,
way.
it actually was. and I really like that lineup as well. So I don't know what we're gonna do, but I mean, I have a second one here. I guess I'll go with this one. I guess I should have went first. That was my bad. I'll go with Valentina, Brendan Allen, Liang Na, Joanna, Steve Garcia, and Ramazan Emeev. But yeah, you did steal mine. Hopefully, it doesn't hurt me too bad.
We'll message about it.
I'll go with that one.
We'll figure it out.
No, you can have it. You can have it. It's all good. All right, so we'll answer some questions that we'll get out of here. We will give this one to Monk. Monk, do you think will JJ win?
I personally think she has a great shot. I mean, if she was right there the whole time, that was a close fight in that last one. I think she's got a great shot. But more importantly for DraftKings, that possible value. She's only 7,400. I mean, do you think Weili is going to – sorry about that squeaky fan. I mean, 8,800 might be a bit much. I think this line is far too wide, and I think the salaries are far too wide. I'm going to have a good chunk of Joanna, and I do think she can win a decision here. Even if she can finish, but I think she can win a decision as well.
Sounds good. This one can go to Gordo. Is Starboy worth the juice odds-wise? Brendan Allen parlay worthy?
See, I'm not big on laying juice on Manel Kape. I know he's had a lot of issues with not only volume, but it's. I think that the line's a bit wide here. My, let's say, recommendation for this one would be maybe a live entry on Kape. I mean, Bontorin has seemed to come out fast and has declined a bit. So if you are looking for a way to enter the fight, maybe after round 1, Kape's going to be looking a bit fresher here. He maybe have better odds too, but. I think that parlay-wise, there's a lot of uncertainties this week, so I don't necessarily if I'd go there. I'd maybe revert more to like the main event unders or something like that. But I do think Kape wins, just I don't know how decisively.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I would not really parlay any money lines this week. Let's see here. Weezy. Ricky's saying, do you think the weight cuts will add up on Fialho and potentially compromise his chin or even his cardio?
They certainly could. I mean, Fialho is not a small welterweight, and he's fought, I think this will be his 4th fight since the Pereira fight, and the Pereira fight was late last year. So, yeah, he's fighting a lot. But he's young. This kid is not even 30 years old yet. I think he's 27, 28 years old. So I don't think it's going to I don't think it's going to matter that much to him. And, there's 2 sides to that sword. You've got the constant weight cuts, but also Fialho's been very active. And there is something to be said for that activity as a young man, to be putting those fights back to back, to be getting better. He's got a lot of fights already. He's been very active. And we were talking about it, Brady, how he was already out there in Singapore at the beginning of the week. So I think a lot of things are lining up here for Fialho to look good and do his thing. And I'm looking for him to win this fight.
Yeah, really looking forward to that fight. See if we missed anything. Carrillo's saying, I have Glover, Valentina, Garcia, Na, Kang, and Brendan Allen. Thoughts? I think it's a good lineup there. As long as Kong does not get knocked out, I think that'd be the one thing I'd worry about. Same thing with Glover, really, but Glover has a ton of upside. I guess this can go to Gordo. Gordo, do you think Glover can get a takedown in round 1?
I think that this is one where you can't say yes for sure to anything because sometimes it takes a bit for Glover to get going, but at the other times we've seen him been knocked out with the very first punch. Like he doesn't have the best durability left, but I think that I forget who it was. I think it was Frank commented that earlier that whereas Jiří is very fast and he's also very reckless, and I think he's got to be very, very careful what situation he puts himself in. I think that. Maybe a bit of bias because I do want Glover to win. I do think Glover can get a takedown early on because he's going to have one thing in mind that's going right for it because he knows he has that advantage. I'm going to say yes, but there's definitely no certainties in this fight.
I guess there's actually odds on that, like -1. Would you lay -155 on Teixeira getting a takedown? I feel like he could, but that's a terrifying bet.
I don't think I would. I'd be you just be clenched, right? Because you have Jiří coming at you. I don't know. I think I'd stay away from that.
Yeah, that'd be terrifying. I think that is about it. Let us give our predictions, and then we'll head out of here. Monk, do you have your predictions ready for this week?
Yes, sir. Computer Monk's got 4 dogs this week. See if you can spot them. Jocelyn Edwards, Na Liang, Dana Batgarel, Jake Matthews, Steve Garcia, Seung Woo Choi, Jacob Malkoun, Jack Della Maddalena, Manel, Kape, Joanna, Jędrzejczyk, Valentina, Shevchenko, and Jiří Procházka in the main event.
Sounds good. I also have 4 dogs. Give me Jiří Procházka in the main event, Valentina Shevchenko, Zhang Weili, Manel, Kape, Della, Maddalena, Seung Choi, Brendan Allen, Steve Garcia, Jake Matthews, Kyung-ho Ko, Liang Na, and then Ramona Pascual. Weezy, do you have your quick picks for this week?
Yeah, Teixeira, Shevchenko, Weili, Zhang, Bontorin, Maddalena, Brendan Allen is Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, Seung Choi, Steve Garcia, Fialio, Batgary, Na Liang, and Jocelyn Edwards.
And Gordo, how about you?
I love all the dogs. I actually have 6 myself this week. We're going to take Jiří in the main event, Valentina Shevchenko, Joanna, Manel, Kape, Ramazan, Emeev, Brendan Allen, Choi, Mahashete, Fialo, Kang, Na Liang, and Ramona Pascual.
Sounds good. I like it. Lots of dogs this week. But yeah, guys, that is about it. Thank you all for hanging out. We'll kick it around here. Monk, let the people know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout this week.
For sure, and even though I am in, a different state, I was going to say time zone, but I'm pretty sure straight down is the same time zone. I will still be putting out some content, maybe a couple more videos on my channel if I can get around to doing that photoshopping tonight. But check me out with my intrepid co-host at Lou Betya over on the MMA Engine channel this Friday, 4:30 p.m. We are going to break down all 12 fights from a betting and DFS perspective. And on top of that, if you guys have any other questions as far as lineups go, hit me up over on Twitter at Monkmaddox. I'm always down to discuss fights, especially DraftKings stuff with awesome people such as yourself. So check all that out. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Gordo, let the people know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the rest of the week.
For sure. So you can find me on Twitter at GamblesGordo, but a lot of my content, I am finishing up. Maybe I got like 10 minutes left. I can probably get the video out of my own DraftKings plays on the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. After you guys are finished watching Monk and Lou on Friday, I got a live stream with Liam Picks Fights and MMA Kelton Friday at around 5:30 p.m. That'll be lots of fun chopping up with those guys, but lots of content, Plays and Fades Sports on YouTube. And I appreciate it, you guys, for having me on once again.
Sounds good. And then last but not least, Weezy, let the people know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the week.
Yeah, I'll be going live on my channel tonight, Uncle Weezy, after the Club and Sub podcast, 10:30 Central Time for Ask Weezy. I will also be going live on the MMA Engine YouTube channel tomorrow, 7:15 Central Time for Probability. We're going to give you a data-driven look at all the over-under and fight goes and fight doesn't go line on the UFC 275 card. You can find me on Pub Sports Radio, the MMA Engine YouTube channel, DFS by the Numbers YouTube channel, and last but not least, my channel, Uncle Weezy. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 275, you guys.
Let's do it. And you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the Numbers. You can find me here on YouTube, DFS by the Numbers, MMA Engine, and then also here on Pub Sports Radio. Make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe on your way out. And yeah, we'll talk to you very soon. Good luck for UFC 275.